Hello, welcome to Season 5, Episode 23, which is also Episode 159 of the Retro Game Club podcast. I am Rob, and joining me is someone pretending not to have my analog pocket, Hugh.
That's right. I actually did play my analog pocket this week, so I've been getting some mileage out of it. I heard a story that perhaps you have lost yours.
Yeah, and it's one of two things. I completely kind of rearranged my basement with all my random stuff, and also I had that trip to Canada a few weeks ago, and I think I brought it with me. And it was a tiny house, so I don't know how I would have missed that. But with two little kids running around, it's easy to miss anything. So, man, I love that thing. So hopefully it turns up. If not, it's already too late to buy one of those clear ones. I heard a rumor that a metal one will be shipped.
Oh, that sounds unpleasant.
I know. So we'll see what happens. I'd rather not spend that money again. I don't know. What have you been up to?
So I did mention playing the analog, and that's going to come up later when we talk about game club picks. Mm-hmm. So I'll save that for later. No, haven't been doing a ton. There was a Sega Genesis demo I started like almost 3 years ago now at this point, mm-hmm. that I cannot bring myself to finish. And I spent some time in the evening this week attempting to get myself in the mood to finish it and had limited success. I don't know. This is something I either need to just crank out and finish or be like, okay, I worked like 60 hours on this thing in my spare time. I guess it's just gone.
I hope you finish it, but I do picture you. I don't know how someone psychs themselves up to program and assembly, but I picture like a Rocky IV situation. I don't know if you're the Russian or the American. Either is funny. Yeah.
I'm on the treadmill getting injections.
Exactly.
From strange doctors.
Or you're like lifting trees or whatever.
Yeah. No, it's the problem is my motivation is that I have another idea that I want to work on, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to work on this other idea until I finish the first one.
Yeah.
So.
Do you like the first idea?
Motivation. No, I actually hate it at this point.
Oh.
So that's the problem. I liked the idea when I started, and then I'm like, oh, I don't like the story that I came up with at all anymore.
I say move on. You could always come back to it.
Yeah, I could. We'll see.
Progress makes humans happy, you know.
Yeah, and the thing is, this demo is actually at the point where there's almost no assembler programming left, because I wrote this system to like auto-generate most of the stuff.
Oh, cool.
It's really just like finishing like the dialogue and the scenes, like how you interact with some characters and then they walk out of the room or pace around, that kind of stuff, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. The story stuff. There's very little actual development left on it.
Well, I hope to see a new game from you regardless.
Yeah. We will see what I end up doing. And then that's about it. We'll see. Winter I tend to do all my projects for the year between January and April anyways. So, so going back to your analog, did you, I put this in the notes as kind of a joke, but I'm serious. Did you just check Craigslist for the town you were staying in?
No, because I think the guy that owns it doesn't live around there. And I assume anyone that would use an Airbnb wouldn't live around there, so I don't think it would be in that area.
Oh, so okay, so here's an ethical debate. I guess this is super relevant. I didn't even think of this last week. So I mentioned I went to Minneapolis a couple weekends ago, mm-hmm. right? And we did an Airbnb. We rented this house. It was like 120 years old, cool house and all that stuff. Someone at some point had like a Wii hooked up down there. Because in what would be called like the kids' rec room, it had like a basement rec room thing.
Yeah.
It had like some shelves, and you look at the shelves, and it had like some Wii controllers, but then also some first-party GameCube controllers.
Okay.
But there was no Wii hooked up down there. So at some point, someone brought a Wii and like must have maybe forgot their controllers. I don't know. But I was really like, can I take those first-party GameCube controllers? I really, really debated that one hard. I did not take them.
I always assume when I'm in an Airbnb that I'm on camera all the time, including the bathroom and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was really like, ooh, first-party GameCube controllers.
Yeah.
Those are
rare.
Yeah. Yeah, so it could be that. Maybe it just stays with the house. Look at future reviews of the house. Maybe someone will talk about how cool it was that they had the analog pocket there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You been up to anything else?
No, what about you?
Let's see. I beat Jedi Survivor on the PS5. It was a really good game. There's a character in it called Marin, who is like a witch type character. I hope she gets her own live action. Well, not her own live action. I hope she appears in live action. My biggest issues with the game are really my issues with like modern Star Wars. Like somehow everyone's a Jedi. Like, did any Jedis actually die during Order 66? You know?
Yeah.
And what else? I started Luigi's Haunted Mansion 3. It's a beautiful game. I don't know how they did that. I'm only, I don't know, 20 minutes in. I don't know if I'm going to stick with it, but I want a kind of a spooky game. You know, for our listeners, we're recording on like the 29th, so it's still spooky season. So I don't know if I'll finish it. I've already played 2 Luigi Mansion games, so I don't know if I need a third, even though people love this game. I played some Karateka, or as I pronounce it, Karateka, because I got that making of Karateka game on Steam by Digital Eclipse. It's fantastic. I don't know how, who is it, Jordan Mechner kept all his discs and all that, and video, or not video, like Super 8 type film. Very cool. I love all the stuff with his dad who did the music in it. If anyone owns any retro IP, they should be begging Digital Eclipse to do something with it. They can do no wrong. Have you checked that one out at all or heard anything about it?
No. I've heard of it. I have heard of it.
Yeah.
I assume everyone has. Everyone who would be into retro gaming has. I never was really into that game. That's the problem. I never got into the game, so I wasn't really looking at ever buying this.
It's one of those things that makes you like a thing. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, you know how there's those great documentaries that you're like, oh, I didn't know I cared about this topic at all. You know, this is kind of like that. Now, I had Karateka on an Apple II, and I loved it back then. I think, you know, obviously the Apple II is the best version. If you play the 7800 or any other ports, they're not as good. And they they interview the people who did the ports, and it's widely known that the ports are not good, right? And they talked about it, like why Karateka is difficult to port. And it has a bunch of prototypes on there. It has pretty much, I think, every port, And it also has a Digital Eclipse modernization of it. Not like 3D or anything, but, you know, it's just more modern, you know, 2D, but the exact same game. And I played to that. I got to the big cat thing, and that thing murdered me. So
No, I didn't even know there was a big cat thing. So it's just one of these games. Like I mean, to me, it's a you had to be there game.
Yeah.
When it was brand new, I think it was obviously a very advanced kind of I don't know, revolutionary is maybe a little strong word, but it was a big deal. It was a very sophisticated game at the time. I probably first tried it in like the 90s and was like, this isn't really for me. Right, but it's not. It's again, it's just a product of the time. Like, I guess I wonder that's probably true for almost everyone, right? Like, there's some old game that today, if you tried it today, you'd realize it's completely unplayable. A lot of Intellivision games come that way are that way for me, where I'm like, why did I like Sewer Sam so much back in the Intellivision? Because if I tried it now, it's awful. But then there are others where, you know, I can admit, okay, this is maybe mechanically a dated game, but I still like it a lot.
Yeah. Do you still like that?
Well, not Sewer Sam, but there are like Intellivision games that I can admit are like kind of flawed. And if you gave them to a new gamer today, they would, not enjoy the game at all. Like Minotaur, for example, right? Like Minotaur is probably still my favorite Intellivision game, but I know whenever people try it for the first time, it's just a confusing mess.
Yeah.
But I will defend that game forever.
That's how I am with Sierra Online games. I couldn't imagine like my kid when he gets a little older trying to play one of those and actually enjoying it. And who knows? Even though I think Legend of Zelda is one of the best games ever, I could definitely see this new generation being like, yeah, who cares?
Yeah.
But should we hop into some news? We're kind of, if it sounds like we're rushing through anything, I'm in a bit of a hurry today, so
Okay.
Sorry in advance. We talked about this before. The Mr. Rival Mars FPGA is making some news. They already released some adapters that you can use original controllers with, and that looks really cool. And it uses the SNAC USB, I guess that would be protocol. And that's just really fast USB pulling. So this is pretty much zero lag.
Is this thing real? Because the pictures look like a render.
It's a render. It's still in development though.
Okay,
So
okay.
on YouTube, you could see like the people who are creating it, demo it and stuff. And they have a lot of people who have built real emulators that a lot of like the Dreamcast emulator that's used in RetroArch and stuff like that. Like we have all that. So real people working on this real product that's going to be really expensive. But FPGAs are expensive. But fair question. Next one, some more emulation stuff. Citra, which is a 3DS emulator, just got a huge boost on Steam Deck, like 20 to 30% increase. So very cool. I have not emulated 3DS ever, but I have seen it, and the way they do it, it's actually not too bad.
Yeah, that's gotta be a weird system to emulate with the. Does Steam Deck have a touch screen? I was
Yeah.
at one point on the wait list for one of these, and then I decided I didn't need
It
it.
has a touch screen.
I said I'd wait for like the Steam Deck Lite instead. But I suspect there's not a lot of DS emulation because of the R4 cards.
Exactly. Those are like $17.
Yeah, and I've heard a rumor that if you buy them on Amazon, the Amazon listing says no ROMs, but somehow they show up with a collection of ROMs anyways.
Yeah.
I've heard that rumor about them, that despite it saying no ROMs like 800 times in the listing, the R4 card that for some reason is $15 more than the blank one on Amazon. Just noting that.
And the exact same one on Alibaba says with ROMs.
Yes.
We got some Doom running on things. I don't know if you saw this article.
No, it looks like it just got added. I did not see this.
Last night I was bored and adding news.
Oh, yeah. That's cool.
So the Atari Jaguar are getting a new version of Doom 2, and Heretic. So it's just adding a bunch of stuff that was in, that just wasn't in there before.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is this a ROM hack or is this a port?
I'd like to say yes to both of those.
Okay. The Jaguar played Doom pretty well. These videos look, you know what? This looks more like a port just from the video here. I think this is a report of the game probably. Doom on Jaguar, that is like one of the few games that's still on my eBay watch list, because I don't have that one. It's one of the few games I still want to own, but no chance of my getting that. I'm not sure if you've ever seen the prices on that thing.
Yes. But yeah, this one's called Slayer Edition. But yeah, very cool. There's a video here. It'll be in the show notes in the link we put, but I did not watch that yet. I figure if I've seen Doom before, I've seen Doom.
Yeah, I was mostly curious because I have played the Jaguar version a bit, and I was just trying to see how this compares to what I remember.
And the next one is yours, I think.
Yeah, I follow the RSS feed for Taz, toolassistantvideos.org. And they post stuff every week. I typically don't talk about all of them. But this one I wanted to call out real quick because it's amusing. It is Penn and Teller's Smoke and Mirrors Desert Bus maximum score in 33 hours. So they set up an emulator or a bot to play Smoke and Mirrors until you reach the maximum score of 99. I think this happens like there's like a fundraiser where people take turns playing Desert Bus that runs over a weekend, but I assume they must be able to hit this score. But they're doing this obviously via a bot. And you can download the video. It's 171 gig. If you want 30, like this is a kind of funny thing. Like this would be fun to put on like a status board at work or something. If you had like,
yeah.
Like if you haven't quite finished what you're supposed to be showing the status for yet, you could use this as like a screensaver or something. Or
that's
whatever.
A fantastic idea.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the projects, if you want to go back to my list of unfinished projects, this was because this one was ultimately unfinished because how screensavers are implemented changed from 32-bit to 64-bit Windows. This is a really nuanced little thing. But 32-bit screensavers don't work in 64-bit Windows. Not sure if you knew that.
No, I didn't realize that, no.
Yeah. They I don't know what they changed, but this is what killed this one project I was working on that I never posted. But I was working on a NES save run screensaver. You know how like you can download playthroughs of games, like speed runs or long plays, but you can download them in the save state format. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I wish I'd prepped for this because I can't remember the extension now. But like even here, like on this Smoke and Mirrors thing, you can download the 100 and something gig file, or you can just download the emulator replay, which is just like a list of all the button presses.
Yeah.
Right. And that is not 171 gig. That's going to be a couple K.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'd been working on a screensaver that kicked off an NES emulator and ran like different playthroughs of games. I mean, you would have to have the ROMs, of course. Mm-hmm. But it was just that like screensaver, but then all it did was run these things. And it was a really cool idea, but then 64-bit Windows broke it all. And I said, I'm not going to work on this anymore.
I wonder if that's because it references the clock so much. In Epoch is now a Unix time is now a 64-bit number, right? Well,
yeah.
over a 32-bit number.
Yes. I would have looked at this like 15 years ago. I don't remember the exact reason. I just remember being like, okay, it's complete. Like it wasn't like I just have to recompile this and it's fine kind of problem.
Yeah. Yeah, like when iPhone turned from 32 to 64-bit, everyone just needed to recompile and you were good.
Yeah, this wasn't something quite that simple. So whatever. Maybe I don't run Windows anymore. That's the other reason I haven't picked up this project.
One cool thing you made me think about is how RetroArch does. You can actually share, like if you're playing a game in RetroArch, you could share what you're playing, and you can make it to just friends or the public. And unlike Twitch, all it does is send your button clicks. So if you want to watch the person play, you have to load the same ROM they have, or RetroArch does it for you, so you have to have that ROM, and it just sends you the button clicks. That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
But that's Smoke and Mirrors.
Smoke and Mirrors. Yes, there you go. Which I have a copy. I assume everybody has a copy of that. That's a pretty easy game to find on the internet these days.
And then next one, my Google recommendation engine really likes this timeextension.com site. Like half of our stories have been on this site, but an unreleased SNES platformer, Mr. Tough, is finally going on sale 28 years later. I don't know anything about this game. I really didn't go through this article too much, but that is happening.
Okay, so this is an official re-release? Sorry, I too many
Yeah, it's a digital download for $15 or a cart for $30, or a cart with a box for $50.
Yeah, I think I've heard of this. remember it real well. But I know I've probably seen something about this being a release game before. Looks pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. So if any listener is interested in it, please let us know. Email at retrogameclub.net. I'd like to know if you played this game or even knew about it. And we don't have a topic this episode, but we do have some game club. I think yours is probably going to be quicker. Want to do yours first?
Yeah, actually, I'm going to grab a prop for mine, even though we're not recording. Hold on one second.
Okay.
All right, so I'm a very bad host. I did not get around to playing this game because we're recording earlier than I expected, although even so, I probably still wouldn't have played it. But I do have, this is only Rob can see, the Apple II version of this game.
Wow.
So Lurking Horror, it's a cool game. And the basic premise is you're a student at like a tech school, like an MIT kind of facility. And you're in the computer lab and there's a blizzard and you're snowed in the computer lab and then spooky stuff happens, right? And as I mentioned last time, you have to play this game with an FAQ because it has all these weird, like, things you have to interact with. Like, for some reason, inside the box, there's this bug.
Yeah.
There's a frozen bug. There's, this is not a, this is a book of coupons that came with the game. That's not it.
That's cool, though.
You have your student ID that has some number that you have to use to solve a puzzle. This is the student handbook. So this is a lot of props.
Yeah.
It's a lot of stuff. And the student handbook just has, like, you know, the campus map, which you could figure out on your own. But then it'll just be like, oh, you know, here's some, like, tech jargon, like slang, like things like terms that aren't necessarily English that you have to go to the book to look up. And then the rest of this is just that, but it comes with, like, okay, a few more things. That's not it for the props. There's also then, like, what they call the technical manual, which is like, you know, examples of how to, like, use the computer. So, like, if you want to know how to, like, log into the computer network or whatever, like, you have to be able to reference the technical book. So this is all to prevent you from bootlegging this game.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Like, it's cool. I could probably put this stuff up on eBay and end up with something for it. I got this. I don't remember where I got this one specifically. I think it was a yard sale. I remember at one point buying, like, a big box of, like, D&D and Apple II, Apple II D&D and Infocom games, all, like, you know, for a couple pennies a piece at one yard sale. So I think that this is from that one. And then I also have it on Infocom Collection, which was like a thing released for Windows in the 90s. I actually bought that at, like, Best Buy or something. That was like a real purchase. But I do think this is a fun game. You know, I'm sorry I didn't get to play it. I did play it a long time ago.
What kind of game is it? Because I didn't get a chance to play it. Because, again, we're recording this early because we both have busy weeks.
It's a straight text adventure like Zork.
Oh, cool.
You know, it's the exact same engine as Zork. I'd like literally the same engine, a lot of the same, you know, same writers, that kind of stuff. So pretty similar game.
Very cool. Yeah, I definitely want to play it.
Yeah, at one point I had it on, like, I had a Palm Pilot at one point in my life, and I had it on there too, but that's when I remembered you can't really play it without all the stuff.
Yes, you'd have to bring the box along with you.
Yeah, and I have a bunch of other Infocom games, and I could photograph the various props, I suppose, but I'm sure someone has already done that.
Well, I did Castlevania Legends, which is a Castlevania game on the original GameCube, on the Game Boy. And once again, I said this last week because the same thing happened. It had a great intro. This one was kind of anime-like. I thought this game was going to be so cool. And it felt more dated than the original Castlevania game, which I really like the original Castlevania game. But this felt like, to me, a step backwards. It does have great, you know, stereo music. It has, you know, it's platforming and, you know, there's ropes and stairs and stuff like any Castlevania game. And I just think it's so stupid that if you don't grab the rope correctly, you fall and die. Because, I don't know, you could be on the same screen and fall that far and not die. It's just a pet peeve for me. And this game was conceived as a prequel to the original series, but it was later retconned as non-canon by the creator. It follows the
Okay.
story of Sonia Belmont. It's a vampire. She's a vampire hunter battling the first incarnation of Count Dracula. And so I think, I don't have it open right now. This is a late 80s game. What, like 88 or something? No.
No, this is late
Yeah, sorry.
90s.
Yes, this is late 90s. Yeah, jeez.
Yeah.
This was released, Zach pointed out, after Symphony of the Night. So, again, you're not going to get Symphony of the Night on Game Boy, but, you know, when you see how well they did with Super Mario Land 2, to make something feel more like almost a 16-bit system, there's almost no excuse, especially for, you know, a publisher like Konami. So that is what I have to say about it. It wasn't for me. But not a lot of Castlevanias are. I like the weird Castlevania games. But yeah. What do you think about this one?
So this one, I actually did fire up a speed run. I had to mute it though because I didn't really like the speed runner very much. So I don't know if you're gonna link to it because of that, but I thought it looked okay. I mean, I had to you got to keep in mind this is a Game Boy game. You know, I know it's like a really late Game Boy game. Maybe it's showing, you know, that the Game Boy is getting very dated more than anything else. Because it is. Yeah, I get it. It looks like a game that was made in 1989, but it's
You
actually
also move
1997.
slow. Like there's, you know, Game Boy games had some fast moving. Like again, Super Mario Land 2. I think they did a great job with making something feel a bit more modern. You know.
Yeah. The Super Mario Land games hold up extremely well. I just played Super Mario Land 2 on the Switch not long ago because they have you know, the Game Boy games or whatever on there. This is not on that collection though, of course. But anyhow, we kept calling it a 1997 game, but that's like the original release date. I just looked in the US version came out in 98, so this is like really super dated. I think this is just kind of showing the Game Boy's age at that point.
Yeah. When did the Game Boy Color come out? Let's see.
Right around then. The speed run I watched was playing it on like a Super Game Boy.
Let's see. Yeah, it was November 98. So really close. Yeah. I had, since I can't find my pocket, I had to play this in Bad Ocera, and yeah, it let me switch between Game Boy colors. So I was playing like a cyan pink Castlevania game. What game you want to play next?
So getting back to my earlier comment about trying to play the analog more, I just did a blind grab of games out of my drawer of Game Gear games. And I landed on Streets of Rage.
Love it.
We did Streets of Rage 2 at one point on this show, but we have never talked about the first Streets of Rage. I'm going to be playing the Game Gear version. I'm sorry.
Nice.
Game Boy version would be atrocious. I'm going to play the Game Gear version, but for listeners, you can play any version of it you like.
You'll allow it?
Yes, of course. Well, I typically pick multi-platform games anyways for that reason. So I assume everyone that is interested in playing Streets of Rage is going to play the Genesis version.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I did a last-minute change, and my game is Karateka. I could have sworn we did it, but I checked, and it's not in our master list. So we have Streets of Rage, Karateka. If you have played any Castlevania game or any horror Apple II game, if you love Smoke and Mirrors and Desert Bus, any comments on the new Doom on Atari Jaguar, or you are excited for the Mars FPGA, please email us. Email at retrogameclub.net. That is email at retrogameclub.net. We also have a bunch of our socials that Zach pulls from for every episode. So we have our link tree in the notes. We do have Discord. I keep forgetting about it. I am sorry. There are people on Discord all the time. I keep meaning to go there. And we do have some feedback via email. I could take this one.
All right.
Jordan writes in. He hopes our fall is going well, and he's been on a massive journey playing all the Trail games. Currently on Trails of Cold Steel 4 with Reverie and Boundless Trails to hold me over forever until daybreak.
Okay.
Sorry that it was hard for me to read.
Yes. Well, there's a lot of jargon there. So, yes. I mean, if you haven't played the series, yeah. I mean, the Trails series is... If you're up to Trails of Cold Steel 4, that's like 600 hours of games at that point. I'm not really being facetious.
No,
it's like,
yeah.
It's a very big, and then Trails into Reverie was the game that came out this year, and that's, if you're not a completionist, it's a 100-hour game, and if you are a completionist, it's a 200-hour game.
And is Daybreak something coming out soon?
That's coming out next summer.
Okay, because at first I thought he meant like literally.
No. That game came out in Japan. The Trails games, because they're big localization efforts, and Falcom doesn't have a localization team of their own. They always lag. This came out in 2021, I think. Mm-hmm. So 3 years, roughly, to get over to the U.S. And it had a different name in Japan. So I don't know how this America decides on how to rename games.
Yeah.
But it's had a different name in Japan. It has a sequel in Japan. So
it's probably some focus group.
I don't think it's that sophisticated.
No.
I really don't.
But he goes on, he says, between Trails and East, Falcom has become what Square Enix used to be to him. So yes, what are our favorite Falcom games? And for me, that's pretty easy, because I haven't played any of the Trails games, as you could tell by butchering this email. So, I mean, Eastbook 1 and 2, and I actually like Eastbook 3, but I know it's not a good game. And then East 8 is, to me, by far the best one.
Yeah. I would say for sure East 8 is the best in the East series, definitely. There was just a book about it. Like someone licensed the story and wrote a fantasy book.
Oh, that's cool.
East 8. Yeah. It just came out like this week.
Oh, cool. If you think of it, link me to that. I'd check that out.
It's funny because it's on my Kindle right now. My Kindle is in front of me.
Which Trails games do you think would be your top few?
Yeah, that's a little bit harder because they're like one really massive series. Like I like the PSP ones. I think hold up really well. If you haven't done like, obviously if you've done the whole series, you would have done like Trails in the Sky and Trails in the Sky second chapter. Those are, I think, story wise probably the best in the series. And Trails of Cold Steel 4, which you mentioned playing, is really good too. But it's not one you can just start on your own. Like if you put that game in right now, you would have no clue what's going on. It's probably good that you Trails of Cold Steel 4 is really confusing if you're not a big fan of the series, because like when it was released in America, like the game starts, you're playing as a character from two games that only got released in America this year. I know it's kind of confusing, but this came out in America. Like Trails of Cold Steel 4 came out, I think, 2 or 3 years ago in America. And the lead character at the start of the game is from a PSP game that wasn't released in America until now.
Okay, yeah, that is
so
confusing.
You're starting it as like a character you just have almost no, like you don't know who this person is really yet. But that's what happens because it's all an artifact of these games being released out of order in the U.S. And having different localizers. Xseed did the first round of PSP games, and then I mentioned this America took over and did the rest. And it's just kind of a mess. It's a mess. It's easier to follow now that you can actually buy all the games and play them in order. But for a long time, it was a mess. The other one I'd recommend, and this goes on sale for like almost not literally $1, but really cheap, is there's a game called Tokyo Xanadu that Falcom did that is like a mashup of the East and Trails games, but it's an independent story. Like no connection to the games at all. Like there's fan service references to the games, but it's a 100% independent story. And like it's got a battle system that plays a little bit like it plays like a prototype of East 8.
Okay.
It's kind of how I describe the battle system. And then the story is kind of, Trails of Cold Steel 1, but in a modern setting.
Cool.
So that's one I like, because that's one you can actually, so for people who are, if you're not a fan of Falcom games, you don't want to like invest into 600 hours of RPGs, this is one you can just play by itself and not have to learn like all this like series lore and stuff.
And East games you could pretty much play by themselves too, for the most part.
I mean, there's
East
references
4
to
might be weird,
games.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, East 2 is the only one that is really like directly connected to the previous game.
East 1 and 2 are the same game to me.
Yeah. It's just one long game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But East 3, I'm hoping, there was a remake that was on PSP and Steam, a few years ago. That just got a remake to Switch, and there still hasn't been word if that's going to get localized for the US. That would be the East 3 remake.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I would be excited for that one. Well,
or you could try playing it in Japanese. You could do it. You could attempt. And you may have seen East 10 is out in Japan. But
oh yeah.
We'll play that in like 2 years, one way or another. It'll get localized.
But I do agree that Falcom is better than Square Enix now. They just haven't been hitting it for me. I've tried a bunch of their modern games and just not for me.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Crisis Core remake, but again, that's a remake of a PSP game, so it's a bit old.
Yeah. But we got some socials here. Thank you, Jordan, for writing in.
Yeah, thank you.
So the question was, what game has been in your collection the longest? Hugh, do you know what yours is? If you had to guess.
No, I don't know what I've kept. It's going to be probably Donkey Kong on Intellivision.
Okay. Yeah, that's a long one. Yeah. Yeah, mine is definitely, I mean, I said it last episode, but, DuckTales on NES. Probably a few Atari 2600 games. Yeah, absolutely those few. But we have some other feedback about Castlevania Legends. Someone writes in saying, I've been playing Castlevania Legends, and damn, it's been frustrating. So I decided to look up the old EGM review of the game. Seems they are frustrated with it too, so now he doesn't feel so bad. Yeah, I bounced off it pretty quick. A lot of cheap deaths in that one. Mm-hmm. And then for the what game has been in your collection the longest, someone writes in for Atari 800 Missile Command. Another person, Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt, which I think a lot of people would have that in theirs. Another person writes in, definitely a Commodore 64 game, maybe Raid over Moscow.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the next question might be Jordan's question. What are your favorite Falcom games? And also, since we recorded early, please feel free to, answer the what game's been in your collection the longest too. And our Game Club games are, what did we pick? Streets of Rage and Karateka.
Yes, or Karateka. Which one is correct?
Karateka. That's how Jordan pronounces it.
Okay.
Jordan Mechner. So,
it's like a Linux debate. Yeah.
Yes, a lot of Jordans in this episode.
Awful lot. Yeah.
But I think that wraps it up. Sorry, it was kind of a quick one, but we're kind of on a tight schedule this time.
Yep. Well, thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you.